I know, everyone else has played Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm probably the only person left on Earth who hasn't played it. So, I'm taking a walk with the dog here in the forest, and I just started playing Xenoblade Chronicles over the past week, and I just wanted to talk about it. Let's have a conversation from a new person's perspective playing this classic, this monumental JRPG. Now, I have to say, for me, I was overwhelmed by this game. I think the reason I put it off, and this was a series that I knew was going to take me a lot of time, so I put it off. I have friends that have put in over 120 hours into this game, but I thought to myself, well, okay, I put in 330 hours into Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I can handle this. I can handle this game. And look, I had a trip coming up. We just traveled with the family. I was going to be on the airplane for 7.5 hours each way, plus the time just hanging out in the hotel and all of that. I'll bring my Nintendo Switch, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to dive into this big open world Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition on the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of come in and talk about it. And anytime I'm in the forest, it always reminds me of, of role-playing games. And I love the idea of the exploration, the open world, and it takes me back to being a kid. So the first thing I'll say about this game, again, I'm only about 30 hours into the game. I'm nowhere near even scratching the surface of this game. I love the story idea. Right away I was sucked in to this story, the idea of the Bionis and the Mechonis fighting these giant titans, and then for the rest of the game they're frozen and you're navigating your way along their bodies? Like what? You're gonna have a big battle on the kneecap or the fallen arm of one of these titans, and that's where these people live? Like what? Okay. Immediately I was sucked into this story, and I have to say it really took me back to being a kid. Just like, wow, something I would want to tell my mom or my dad, like, Dad, you gotta check out this game. Like, these two titans battle and then they're like frozen, and now you're battling these Mechon, which are these mechanical enemies, and you're like a human named Aham, and you kind of battle back and forth, and the whole time though it's taking place on the body of a fallen titan. Like, all right, I'm in. Really, really cool. So yeah, but there are of course some things that I wish I knew even before starting the game. Some things a newbie who's never played Xenoblade before probably wishes he knew. When I started the game, I wanted to treat every side quest like it was something I needed to do right now. And let me just tell you, if you're just starting Xenoblade Chronicles, you do not. In fact, I would highly recommend you don't do that. I would just go around and speak to as many different NPCs as you possibly can, the named NPCs, and talk to those individuals. Be set on different side quests. If you see exclamation marks, talk to those people, and then just agree to the quests. Accept the quests. Great, you can have 30 of them, accept them. But don't go off and try to do them right now. And that's what I was trying to do, because I'm obsessed with side quests. And what you should do is instead just accept them and then go off, and eventually you'll come across killing different enemies that actually complete certain quests that you agreed to hours or days ahead of time. And that was really important, because I would be on the beach fighting a bunch of guys, and suddenly after I killed these guys, I completed a quest that I had agreed to. Like, oh, as a newbie to this game, I kind of approach one of these big games that everyone's talking about. I want to come in with a fresh set of eyes, because maybe I'll hate it. I don't want to just like a game or start playing a game and get into it and think that I really have to love this because everyone else says you have to love it. I'm sure some people hate this game out there. And I was immediately just sucked in and enjoying this open world, the music, the characters, the story, the pacing of the story, just trying to discover and understand the battle system. I fell in love with the battle system. I love the idea of this real-time combat, where I've never seen a system like this before, to be honest, that I can think of, that I enjoyed so much at a young age. Thinking of like Dragon Warrior, turn-based RPGs. But in this, it's a real time, so I'm able to stand next to an enemy and auto attack, which was crazy to me. So wait, I'm standing next to the enemy, I can auto attack, great, but then I can also choose through my battle system a bunch of different arts to pick from. And if I'm playing a Shulk, which I've been doing for most of the game, so I have a side swipe, which means, okay, if I'm off to the side of the enemy, a little icon will appear to let me know, hey, I'm on the side. Might want to consider using this art, which will do a lot of extra damage. Or from the back, I've got a backslash as well. So if you're behind the enemy, great, employ that. Now, Shulk is not as strong of he's not a big tank character. So he needs to be a little bit more agile and running around enemies and not getting hit by them. And I love that. So I've sort of set myself up with Shulk, using Shulk and Ryan, and I kind of switch off between some of the other characters depending on where I am in the game. But I've loved this battle system. I think the combat is incredibly inventive, where I can both auto attack in real time, but also choose different arts, also different Monado powers based on how much energy I have in my gauge right now. So all of that has been very exciting from a newbie's perspective to experience this entirely different battle system than I have ever experienced before. Something else that sucked me right into this game is the sword, the Monado. Like right at the beginning of this game, we're learning about this mythical, crazy red sword that I've seen over the years in pictures and imagery, but never knew the backstory for how cool this sword is. You know, in Star Wars, we have lightsabers, and in Xenoblade Chronicles, we have the Monado. And I love the idea that throughout this story, we're going to uncover more and more about what this sword can do. I also love the idea that, hey, if you don't wield this thing correctly, it can turn your arm black. So really, really cool. I love the art style of this game, and I played it mostly in handheld mode for most of my trip. Then I got back from my trip and plopped it into my Switch dock and started playing it on my OLED television. And wow, it's like, oh my gosh, beautiful, both in docked mode and on the big screen. Boy, I wish someone had told me about the gem crafting system and how difficult this would be, but also how important it would be to the game. I'm just now scratching the surface of the gem crafting. For the first part of the game, you really don't need to worry about it too much, but finding these crystals, what do I do with them? Okay, I go to the furnace and I craft them, but I have to use a shooter and an engineer to simultaneously work back and forth to craft these gems. Well, who's better positioned to do that? And then what am I trying to accomplish by crafting these gems? All of that was very, very mysterious to me and frankly a little overwhelming. And then some of these crystals are not quite to the level that I need them, so then they're left over and then they turn into cylinders. Because I've got cylinders and I've got gems, and if it gets up to like 99, great, hold on to that one, because then you can use that later to try to rank up to another level. Anyway, I had to do a lot of studying to understand the gem crafting system in this game, and to know that it's incredibly important as you get into later stages. Also to make sure at the very beginning of the game, the equipment that I was using, I was not picking equipment that had slots available. Slots, of course, that could let me put the gems into the slots and make me stronger. Give me different advantages, whether it's agility or strength or protection against ether, all of these different things. So learning all of that was a little overwhelming. I did spend one afternoon just really trying to understand the gem crafting system, which, that set me back a number of hours. But now, going into the latter part of the game, I'm sure I'll be set up in a better way. Another thing that I wish I knew about at the very beginning was how important the Affinity system is. Now, if you're used to like Fire Emblem games and you're giving gifts to other party members and you're trying to build up that affinity back and forth, and like in Fire Emblem Engage, you're taking people out to dinner, you're preparing meals for somebody else, you're giving them gifts, you're building up your relationships and affinity. Of course, very, very important in a Fire Emblem game, very important in this game, especially for the affinity between two individuals, 3 individuals that you're going to be doing chain attacks with. So, okay, I had to go back and really start to focus on building relationships through the affinity system in this game. So all of those things are really interconnected. One thing as a newbie I'm struggling with right now is the weight of my equipment. I've been hearing, of course, you want to get down to weight 0. You really don't want to be overburdened with heaviness of your equipment. And so right now I've got like 6s and 7s and 8s for weight, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how to get the weight down on these guys. So that's one thing I'm working on right now as well. And I'll just say this to wrap it up. This is one of those games where I want to get good. I want to learn the Affinity system. I want to learn how to better craft gems. I want to learn how to carry out proper chain attacks. I want to learn how to interact and fight and combat better and better. This is one of those games that makes me want to learn to be a better Xenoblade Chronicles player. And for that, I have to say, what a home run. The massive scope and size of this game, the storyline, the art style, the music I could just sit and listen to while I'm doing work in my office, which I've already started doing. I'm really enjoying a lot of the different peaceful music in this game. Very beautiful as you're traversing the open world. And I love the battle system. Yeah, I love all of it so far. So I'm in. Now we'll see where the series goes, and I'm gonna finish this game and get on to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in another year, and maybe Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in a year after that. I don't know, but this is perhaps my biggest game of the year in size and scope. Let me know down below how many of you guys have played Xenoblade Chronicles, and maybe leave me some tips. Leave me some tips for a newbie here as a newcomer to the Xenoblade series. We'll see you next time, everyone.